Hey, what's up everyone, Foxy here, and today I want to do a bit of a different crafting guide to what I've seen on YouTube. I kind of want to give some examples rather than just going over what the items are. There's lots of good crafting guides on exactly what the items do. I actually wanted to show kind of my thinking and how to approach crafting, because a lot of people watch the videos, go, right, I got it, and then they get a piece of gear and they're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this piece of gear now. So this is aiming to address that, show you a few ideas. I'll still go through the runes and glyphs that we use, but with some examples of how we do it, and hopefully luck will be on our side. So let's first start with Havoc runes, because they're the kind of the new juicy ones in Season 2. What we've got here is a scepter, and I've picked this scepter for a reason. That it's got 2 exalts on it, which means we've got double the chance of hitting what we want. And what we're looking for in this build is, let's say we're a damage over time build, we use poison mainly, so we've got 3 affixes here that are really useful to us. We've got spell damage over time, or sorry, damage over time, poison damage, and poison penetration. And the only one we don't want is freeze rate multiply. So this is a really good example of why I would use a Havoc hit, because I've got really high chances to hit it. And boy, do I need to hit it, because trying to do this video so many times, I have failed every Havoc roll so far, and I've got 1 rune left. So this has got to be a good take, guys. So what we're aiming for is basically anything else other than the freeze rate multiplier for it to jump to, and jobs are good. We've got 32 potential. It's not great, but we'll work with it. And we're using the glyph of hope here because that's going to give us a 25% chance not to use the forging potential. Now, because we want to slam it into, let's say, this scepter here with 3 legendary potential, I want to grab the poison, the damage over time, and the poison pen. God knows why you'd do that on this staff. On the scepter you wouldn't, but just for example, it's got 3 LP, which means it'll take 3 of these affixes when we slam it in the Temple Sanctum. So we're going to roll here. We hit damage over time, the highest one. That is literally the best roll I could have gone for here. Poison damage next, really good. And unfortunately, we kind of got the freeze rate multiplier. It is what it is. Now, there's 2 ways we can look at this. We can say, well, I give up on this item because there's a chance that the 3 LP will take this one. Or, you know, leave it up to fate, and we'll just try to make this the best it can be. And that's probably what I would do in this situation, right? Because I've got 3 LP, even if I get... I can definitely say I want this one on the Temple Sanctum, and then I've got sort of 2 more it's going to grab out of 3. So the odds aren't bad, so I'll probably crack on. Now, what I'll do here is, again, Glyph of Hope. I want the poison penetration. And what we're going to do is we're just going to update this affix again and again until it goes to 5, hopefully. So we're going to go 1, 2... I got a crit there, perfect, 4. Okay, so now this item's pretty good, right? We're happy with that. Now, I'm going to look at the roll ranges. This is what I do next, because I've got some leftover shopping money here. We've got some forging potential left over. So we can use something called the Rune of Refinement, and that basically re-rolls the numbers within a tier of the affix. So if I go Control Alt here, it says we've got a tier 6, and it rolls between 131 to 166. Now, it's rolled 137, which is kind of low range. And again, the increased damage over time, that's a tier 7. I want that to get as close to 208 as possible. So again, we use the Glyph of Hope to give us a chance not to use our gambling money. And we click the Rune Refinement, and we roll. And we check, and we got even worse rolls, obviously. Let's do it one more time. That's used up a lot of our potential. Even worse rolls. But here we go, boys. One more time. Bang. We do it again. Even worse. Unbelievable. Okay. Last try. It used 1. Okay, we're cooking. We're cooking. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, I mean, the poison is pretty good now on the roll. The spell damage isn't great, so the damage over time isn't great. So I'm going to roll again on this. And 185, still not great. I've got 2 potential left. There's nothing really else I want to do with this item, so I might as well just keep going and hope that I hit good at the end. I didn't. I probably still might put this on, say, a 2 LP item. I probably don't want to use up a 3 LP item on this because it didn't really hit as high as I'd like. Okay, so far we've just talked about creating exalts ready to put onto your uniques, but in some cases you don't want to use a unique. In some cases you just want to use an exalted. Like, for example, I've made a set piece here. I'm not using a unique in this slot at all. So we're going to use this necklace as an example. I'm actually an Aura of Decay build. I've kind of built a Righteous Fire build for those who played PO1 using Aura of Decay. Got a build guide if you're interested in that. And let's say I really do like this T6 area for area skills. It's okay for Aura of Decay. It's not the best, but let's say I like it. Now, sealing is really good in this example for us, because let's say I don't want fire resistance. I could seal this away because it's always nice to have a little bit of fire resistance or even physical resistance off to the side. And that frees up a slot. So there's two ways we can approach this, right? We could try to ruin a removal, and we've got a 1 in 3 of taking away our nice little exalted bit here. So we don't really want to do that. But what we can do instead is use the glyph of despair. So the glyph of despair will grab the item here and move it off to the side. And there's a increased chance the lower the tier is. So tier 1 is basically guaranteed, but now I've said that, it's not going to hit. So I'm going to press that, and boom, I've now got the fire resistance out of my way, but also on my item. So I get like a little bit of fire resistance in the side, which is always nice. I'm then going to start crafting. So I've used the rune despair. I then say, let's say I don't want physical resistance, I want something else. Before I do anything, I'm going to put the 4 pieces on because that's more important than re-rolling this into something potentially I don't want. So that's my thought pattern here. So I go Glyph of Hope. I'm going to put damage over time. It is my best stat really for this build. And I'm going to put at least 1 here on here. Okay. Now I'm going to grab one more thing here because let's say physical resistance is okay for me. I've got some. I don't really need to get too much more. I'm not that interested in it. So what I'm actually going to do is before I even upgrade this, which people think I'm going to just upgrade this straight away. It's my best stat. What you want to do is actually add one more stat that you really, really care about. So I'm going to put on here ward per second and ward decay. So I'm going to put that on. And the reason is exactly that. Now, let's say I hadn't got that on there and I critted. It might have critted on the fizz or it might have critted on the damage over time. But now, when I upgrade the damage over time, there's potential for it to land on the ward instead of landing on the physical resistance, which I don't care about. I'm about to re-roll that with chaos, right? So that's why I like to add, and this is a little bit of maybe a pro tip. I don't want to say it's a pro tip. It's not that complicated, but it's a useful tip, right? So I'm now going to upgrade my most important stat first using the Glyph of Hope. And go bang, bang, bang. Sod's Law, it hit the fizz resistance, but I had a chance of hitting any of these 3, which would have been better than the fizz resistance. I'm going to hit that again. And now what I'm going to do is, we don't want this tier to go too high, because if we're rolling it with Chaos, when we hit 5, that's game over. We can't go any higher. So I've got 2 choices here. Either increase the stat I really care about, but risk critting the physical resistance. Or I roll Chaos on this and risk losing all my forging potential. Now, the chance of critting is relatively low, but if it does, it's a 50-50 chance. I actually care more about the ward per second in this example than I do about the fizz resistance. So I'm in this example, because I care more about ward, I would actually roll on this and risk the crits and just pray it doesn't hit on the fizz resistance that I'm not that fussed about. But it's never bad to have fizz resistance, which is why I don't care. Let's say it's the opposite, where I'm ambivalent between the two, like I don't really care which one it hits. Then I might chaos on this first and then upgrade it at the end, because I actually care more about getting a chaos roll than I do about upgrading this stat. But I do want this stat, so I'm going to upgrade it. Upgrade it. Upgrade it. We didn't hit. Perfect. We've got 12 potential left. That should be enough. So now we're going to move on to a new item, new glyph that we haven't used in this yet. It's the Glyph of Chaos. So now this is going to randomly re-roll this into something a tier higher of the options that it could roll into. So I'm going to click here. It's gone into health and stun avoidance. That is actually what I want, let's say, because health is always good. Stun avoidance is good as you're pushing higher corruptions. And then I'm going to revert this back to, I would revert this back and then finally upgrade it, but we ran out of potential here. So I hope that was a useful example of doing that. So now we've got 5 stats here. It's pretty good. Maybe, I mean, at my corruption, it's not great, but could be useful for, early game. Here's an example of something I did earlier. I have a 30% increased movement speed, 8 vitality, fizz resistance, health, increased health, and I sealed off cold resistance. So I did it on this. I also like these boots so much. I also split it. So there's another thing called the Rune of Creation. And I just so happened to finish this shoe build, or this boot build, with 1 forging potential left. And I was like, what am I going to do with the forging potential? I've already hit the max speed that I want. The roll range is up to 30. I'm kind of done with this item. I had a spare Rune of Creation. And what this does is it duplicates the item, but reduces the forging potential both to 0. Now, I had 1 forging potential. It was free. Now, these are quite rare runes. So I'm on COF, which means runes come quite easily. I've already got 2 more rune creations, so I wasn't too worried about hitting this item early game. I got this quite early on. So I actually did use a rune creation on this, and you can see these boots are those exact boots, but they're pointing the other way to show they're mirrored. Now, I'm going to potentially try and slam it onto a pair of boots like these. Let's say they have 2 or 3 legendary potential on them. This one doesn't, but let's say it did. I could guarantee the movement speed, and then I could also guarantee the other good stats on it. So that's why I did it, because all these stats I want. So whatever I hit on a high LP item is going to be good for me, which is why I did it in the early game. If I do get like a +3 LP, then this is the pair of boots I'm going to slam on. And if it hits bad or I don't like it for whatever reason, I still have these pair of boots here that will keep me going if, you know, I get unlucky, which based on this video, you can kind of see what my luck's like. So next we move on to the Rune of Weaving, another new one for Season 2. So what the Rune of Weaving does is it transforms a random amount of Weaver's Will, which there are certain items called Weaver's items. So let's grab this one as an example. And what it will do, take a chunk of that. If I put it in, it will take a chunk of the forging potential here of the Weaver's Will, and it will immediately create some affixes using that Weaver's Will. Now, there's 2 ways you can approach Weaver's Will. One is you can just put it on your equipment, run around, kill mobs, and it will naturally get turned into stats, or you can speed this up using Rune of Weaving. Now, I tend to save these Runes of Weaving on sort of high Weaver Will items that are going to take ages to transform. Like this one, it's got 18. That's really good roll. 18, anything above 14 is quite rare. So I'm going to use a Rune Weaver's Will on this. You can't use any glyphs on this. It's purely for this purpose. We're going to hit this. We're going to hit it. We're just going to do it a few times all the way down to 0 for me. But what I would actually do is 1 step at a time, use a Rune of Weaving to check what stat I get before I roll again. Because let's say I've got poison damage, cold damage, dodge, and cooldown recovery. Let's say the first stat I get is cold damage and it uses up a chunk of my Weaver's Will. Then I potentially don't want to waste more runes on it. I might just bail on the item. So I probably would have bailed on this item because cooldown recovery is good for me, dodge isn't, and cold isn't. So let's say I didn't see the poison damage or the cooldown recovery. I just saw the dodge rating, the cold damage after 1 or 2 hits of the runes. I'd probably abandon this item. I might chuck it away or keep it for another character, but I'd be done with it. I wouldn't use any Weaver's Will on it at all. And that's kind of my approach to use these. Only really use them for the first hit, check what you get. If you get rubbish, bail on the item. If you get good, hit it again. If it then gets rubbish, bail on the item, and so on. So next we're going to look at another one for Season 2 that's new, which is the Rune of Redemption. Now, I've got this axe here. I'm not actually using axes, but I'm going to use it for this example because we've got 3 exalts on it. Now, genuinely, the Rune of Redemption, what it does is it randomly changes all the exalted affixes on an item into different ones, but it doesn't change their tiers. So we've got a tier 6, a tier 6, and a tier 7. So pretty nice item. So what we're going to do here is, again, use the Glyph of Hope. We're going to use this. And let's say we're not a damage over time build, we're a melee build. We're going to look for let's say melee related things. We do have attack speed here, but let's just roll it and show you what we'll kind of get. So first of all, we roll it. We get fire damage, melee damage, leech as life, as health, sorry, and chance to chill on hit. I'm not a fire build, let's say, but I do want physical or melee or strength or something like that. So we're going to roll again. We've got void damage, crit, and area of melee area skills. Again, I don't think that's a very good one for us. Let's go one more time. Again, damage over time, no good for us. So we're going to hit this again. Maybe I'll just do it one more time, just see if we get something better than that. With one more time, why not? There we go. Okay, let's say we've got melee attack. We're a void melee build. This stun chance with melee attacks. We've got a melee attack speed and melee void damage. We've kind of ruined the item. We've got 9 potential here. But that's kind of the idea of why you would use the Rune of Redemption. I wouldn't really craft it like this. I probably would have stopped a bit earlier. But let's say then we've got this one last slot just to finish the build. And we're going to say, you know, physical pen. Let's say we want physical pen. We use the Glyph of Hope. And it critted. And it didn't use the thing. So let's go like this. Let's go like this. Okay, so we got melee attack speed, melee void damage, stun chance for melee attacks, and physical penetration. That's the idea of the Rune of Redemption. So hopefully that's kind of been useful, even though the rolls have been absolutely atrocious, but that is the way it is. So Rune Ascendance, this has been around for a long while. all this does is basically re-rolls any item of that base type. So let's take this helmet. Say I don't care about this helmet, which I don't. It will always roll a helmet when I use Rune Ascendancy, but it doesn't matter what the rarity is or the item level. If you play PoE 1, you'd realize that actually level does matter for converting it into the unit you want. So let's say I want to get the Bone Clamor Barbit on the right here. It's level 65. In Path of Exile, you'd actually have to get a level 65 helmet to be able to hit that. Last Epoch, they don't care about it. It could be a white, it could be any level you like. So I'm going to hit it, and we'll see if we get a Barbie helmet. I mean, the chances are slim to none, but we'll try. Actually, it's common, so it's slightly more popular. So what I would actually do before I do this is I'd go on a site like Last Epoch Tools, check the how likely it is to hit on Ascendancy. This one is relatively likely, but not that likely. So I'm going to try. I got this helmet. This is actually quite a good helmet for like companion primalists, but so I might save that for later. But that's basically what the Rune Ascendance does in a nutshell. You basically can gamble basically you don't care for to try and hit uniques you do care for. So next we're going to talk about the Rune of Shaping. So what we use the Rune of Shaping for is basically re-rolling the implicits. So the implicits are the numbers you see above the forging potential. So in this case, it's 23% fire damage, 20% minion fire damage. And the roll ranges can be anywhere between 13 and 91. And this is rolled the worst, like really bad implicits. They're awful. So before you ever use the Rune of Shaping, the first thing you want to do is make sure you like all the things on your item. In this case, they're all a bit random. I'm just going to, for the sake of this demo and brevity, we're just going to quickly upgrade these and say we like all of them. So let's say we don't want to use all the fortune potential. Let's say we like all of these stats. They're all tier 5, and this one's tier 7. What we're going to do is then use the Rune of Refinement, and we're going to use, again, the Glyph of Hope. We're going to roll. We're going to check the stats. 32, 43. Now, these go up to 90, so I would say that's not great. I'm going to roll again. Used quite a lot of forging potential there. Stats not great again. Hit them again. We've got 88% minion damage, which is really pretty good, but the worst roll of fire damage. We're going to hit it again. 50-50. So close, but not quite what we want. 89%. That's 2% off the max roll it could be. The other one is just below average. If you're not happy, you just keep going, because as long as you've made all these other ones fine, you can just keep going. I'll do it for the sake of Gambo. Let's see what we hit. Let's see if we get top rolls. Okay, this one I probably would stop on, right? We've got 87% fire damage, 74% minion damage. So next we're going to look at the Rune of Discovery. So what this does is basically adds random tier 1 affixes to all empty slots on item, and it has an increased chance of rolling rarer affixes. I happen to have a item here, which basically rolled 1 affix and it's tier 7. And this is kind of a good candidate for this, because I'm going to get 3 potentially rarer affixes as a starting point for a single roll. It doesn't work on the glyphs, as you can see. So we're going to use the Rune Discovery. We're going to roll it, and it's going to hit 3. So we got void damage, added health, and health regeneration. That's actually a good one for me. Stun avoidance, void damage, not so good. Now, genuinely, you don't really use this late game. I've never used this rune, I'm going to be honest. That's why I've probably got 833 of them. But it's quite good early game just to try to hit some rarer ones. Or maybe you're looking for like +4 Wandering Spirits, for example, as I've got here. And you've got an empty slot here. You might have a higher chance of hitting it using one of these runes. And it will quickly populate those two without using forging potential to do it. So that's basically the reason you would use that, to try to generate rarer stats without using too much potential. Though you can't use the Glyph of Hope, so it's a bit of a balance. So finally, I want to cover off the last few glyphs and runes that we have here, and these should be quite quick. So first of all, the Glyph of Order. So what this does is when you upgrade one of these tiers, it will keep the roll range it landed in. What that basically means is, let's say I had the max roll within the tier, which I do on the damage over time, it's 46%. I'm a damage over time build. Therefore, when I upgrade this, it's going to hit the maximum it can roll in tier 5. So its max is 46 on tier 4. We upgrade this, and I've got the Glyph Order in there. It's going to hit the maximum it possibly can on this item, which in this case is 70%. I don't know why that didn't hit the max. Maybe it's a rounding error. The luck on this video is incredible, but that should say 70%. I don't know why that didn't roll. But equally, just to show this, on my damage over time here, the maximum roll on my Mad Alchemist Ladle should be 208. It's 209, because in Last Epoch, there is rounding. And rounding basically always benefits the player, so it generally rounds up. Now let's say I don't want this, but I really do want to get the shards back. Now let's say I like all these shards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go Rune of Shattering, which destroys the affix, giving me the potential to get all of these shards, some of these shards, a combination of these shards. So let's do that. I got 3 different affixes. One of the affixes didn't carry over. That's fine. So moving on to the last items, we're going to look at the Rune of Removal. So basically the Rune of Removal has multiple uses. Let's say I really want Chaos Bolts and I don't have many shards for this. If I use a Rune of Removal, like so, and we're going to use the glyph just so it doesn't use up forging potential, because there's a 1 in 4 at the moment of me getting this, it will give me all of the shards back from that. So tier 7 shards basically when I hit that. There's 2 reasons to use Rune Removal. One is if you really want to gamble. Let's say I have a tier 5 minion dodge rating, I don't want tier 5, but I still want to craft on this item. I could use it to try and hit that without hitting the, the really good affix. It hit the really good affix. It gave me all 7 Chaos Bolt shards back, which is really good if I need those to be used on another item. And it also frees up a slot for me to craft something else that I might want. So there's 2 purposes, basically, to summarize. One is to free up a slot, but sometimes the better way is to seal, like I showed you in the earlier part of the video, where you can just move the slot like that if you're going to use it, not on uniques. Or the other way to do it is use Rune Removal and hope it doesn't remove the good stuff. Or it's to get your shards back. So that's Shattering and Rune Removal. And that's basically it from this video. So I hope this has been useful. I've been unbelievably unlucky on every single one of these. I've done so many outtakes trying to get like a perfect roll on some of these items. No streamer luck here at all, but hopefully this has been useful. It's a bit of a longer one, but I really wanted to go into the thinking around it. And if this video has been useful, I can do it for other things, maybe like factions and stuff like that, or the Weaver's Tree. Let me know in the comments. I still don't have an outro, so I'm just going to keep rambling and then just, end the video at some point. Maybe like now would be good. Oh, I probably should have said like and subscribe at some point in this video as well. But yeah, if you like this, feel free to do that as well. Bye.